Welcome, everyone, to a very special deep dive edition of Leading Edge AI Radio. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here with us today.
It's great to be here.
Before we jump into well, I'm looking at a massive stack of research sitting on the desk right now, but before we get into that, I do want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Leading Edge Fiber and Recycle.
They're doing great work.
They really are. And just as our sponsor is out there doing the hard, essential work of recycling physical infrastructure to build a more sustainable future, today's deep dive is really about recycling our outdated ideas.
Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Let's go.
Wake up, grab that coffee, and make it a triple shot today, trust me. Welcome to the deep dive. We are coming in hot today.
Oh, we are bringing the energy today.
You know it. Now, you're listening to this right now, which means you follow tech. You know how this stuff works.
You know the drill.
Exactly. You know that when you pull out your phone and ask an AI to write a marketing strategy or generate some wild hyper-realistic video or summarize a 50-page legal brief, it isn't just magic happening in some fluffy, invisible cloud.
Right. The cloud is a metaphor.
It's a massive metaphor. You know data centers exist. But today... oh man, today we are ripping the absolute roof off that cloud because the physical reality of what is being built right this second is it's fundamentally breaking the physical limits of planet Earth.
The paradigm shift happening beneath our feet is staggering.
Right.
I mean, we are moving away from traditional cloud storage and entering an era of heavy industrial-scale computational manufacturing.
It's heavy industry.
It really is. The sheer tonnage of structural steel, the volume of water, and the gigawatts of electricity being mobilized right now are completely unprecedented in human history.
And look, we brought the receipts to prove it. We have an absolute mountain of sources on the desk today.
A literal mountain.
I am staring at the latest McKinsey reports on real estate shifts. We've got Morgan Stanley financial forecasts that will genuinely make your head spin. We are pulling deep tech white papers straight from the IE, hardware specs from the Introl blog, and heavy-hitting industry analysis from RCR Wireless.
Don't forget the environmental data.
Right. We're even pulling Wikipedia's latest updates on data center cooling and Microsoft's own environmental sustainability reports. It is a massive stack.
It's huge, but it all points to one inescapable reality. The digital revolution has hit a physical wall, and the world's biggest companies are completely re-engineering the physical world to break through it.
Our mission today is to map this out for you. We are going to trace the concrete, the steel, the glowing silicon, and the mind-bending megawatts of this new industrial revolution being built right under our noses by titans like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, and OpenAI. Okay, let's unpack this.
The absolute best place to start is the capital expenditure. Because honestly, the financial figures are the only way to truly visualize the physical scale of this thing.
Let's hit some rapid-fire numbers. I want you, listening right now, to feel the weight of this capital in your bones. According to the analysis from RCR Wireless, just 4 companies, Amazon, Google, Meta, and Microsoft are projected to drop a combined $315 billion on AI infrastructure in 2025 alone.
$315 billion.
In 1 year. Amazon is leading the pack, just casually writing checks for $100 billion.
And if you look at the broader market, it gets even crazier. You look at OpenAI and Microsoft's Project Stargate initiative, they are committing an estimated $500 billion over 5 years.
$500 billion.
$500 billion. Those aren't standard corporate IT budgets. Those are figures that rival the gross domestic product of mid-sized nations.
Yeah.
I mean, they eclipse the inflation-adjusted cost of the entire Apollo space program.
That is wild.
And every single cent of that is being poured into physical land, server racks, silicon, and power generation.
See, when you hear numbers that astronomically high, the natural human instinct is to scream, bubble.
Right.
It sounds like the dot-com boom all over again. You start wondering who is going to be left holding the bag when the music stops.
What's fascinating here is the underlying math driving this capital avalanche. It isn't speculative fever at all.
It's not.
No, it's driven by the AI scaling law. In the realm of artificial intelligence, it has been empirically proven that larger data sets processed by larger models yield exponentially more capable AI. But to process a massive data set, you require a proportionally massive physical compute infrastructure. You literally cannot achieve the next breakthrough in artificial reasoning without pouring a larger concrete foundation, filling it with denser silicon, and plugging it into a bigger power plant.
So they literally have to spend it.
Exactly. The money is strictly following a proven mathematical law of returns.
Which brings up a massive terminology shift I really want to highlight for everyone. We all know the phrase data center. When I say that, you probably picture a sterile, quiet, heavily air-conditioned room with some blinking blue lights.
A digital library.
Right, a library where your emails and family photos sit quietly on a hard drive. But Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, is flat out refusing to call these new facilities data centers. He calls them AI factories.
It is such a vital distinction because a traditional data center was passive. It was a storage unit.
Yeah.
An AI factory is an active, roaring, heavy machinery assembly line. Instead of stamping out car chassis or smelting steel beams, the raw material being piped in is raw data.
And the product.
The manufactured product, produced at an unimaginable scale, is artificial intelligence.
I love that visual. You go from a quiet library to a roaring assembly line. But you might be wondering, what are they actually buying with all those billions? What does the machinery on this new assembly line actually look like?
That is where we get to the chips.
Welcome to the heavyweight tech fight of the century. In the reigning champions corner, wearing the bright green trunks, we have NVIDIA.
For the past few years, NVIDIA's Hopper architecture, specifically the H100 chip, was the undisputed engine of the AI boom. If a tech company wanted to train a model, they were begging, borrowing, or leveraging every connection they had to get their hands on H100s.
It was pure gold.
But according to the deep dive from Intuition Labs, the Hopper era is already giving way to the new Blackwell architecture, specifically the B200 and GB300 chips.
And this isn't just a regular smartphone-style upgrade, right, where the new chip is just 20% faster. Blackwell is a fundamental ground-up redesign. But why? What is Blackwell doing that Hopper couldn't?
So Hopper was versatile. It's a brilliant piece of silicon, but it was designed to be good at many things: high-performance computing, climate modeling, complex physics simulations, and AI.
A jack of all trades.
Exactly. Blackwell, on the other hand, is purpose-built for one specific task: massive transformer models. Generative AI. To achieve this, NVIDIA introduced fifth-generation tensor cores that operate using ultra-low precision modes, specifically 4-bit and 6-bit operations.
Hold on, let's translate that, because ultra-low precision sounds terrible.
It does sound bad.
If I'm spending tens of thousands of dollars on the most advanced computer chip in human history, why on earth do I want it to be less precise?
It sounds totally counterintuitive, but it's a stroke of genius. Think about traditional supercomputing. If you are simulating the fluid dynamics of a jet engine or calculating the orbital trajectory of a satellite, you need perfect double precision mathematics.
Right, you don't want to miss the planet.
Exactly. You need to calculate pi to the 50th decimal place, which takes a massive amount of computational time and energy. But AI neural networks don't work like that. They are, at their core, probabilistic guessing machines.
Guessing machines.
Right. They don't need perfect decimal point precision to know that the next logical word in a sentence should be apple instead of car. They just need to make billions of good enough guesses at blinding speed.
I see.
So by dropping the precision down to 4-bit, the Blackwell chip can process a staggering volume of data, trading unnecessary microscopic accuracy for raw, unadulterated throughput.
Okay, that makes total sense. It's like, if I need to know if a couch will fit in my living room, I don't need a microscopic laser-calibrated measuring tool. I just need a quick, rough glance with standard type measure.
Perfect analogy.
But in this case, the AI needs to measure 1 billion couches every single second.
That's a great way to look at it. And the scale at which these chips are being clustered together is hard to fathom. Look at the Microsoft Azure NVL72 cluster.
The NVL72.
Yes. This isn't just a rack of servers. It's a deployment of Blackwell chips designed to act as a single unified brain. It consists of 72 server racks holding 4,608 GPUs, all linked together with ultra-high-speed copper and optical interconnects.
Wow.
Together, this single cluster pumps out 92.1 exaflops of inference throughput.
92.1 exaflops. Just the word alone sounds like it belongs on the bridge of the Starship Enterprise.
It really does.
Let's really ground that for everyone listening. An exaflop is 1 quintillion floating point operations per second. That is a 1 followed by 18 zeros.
18 zeros.
We are talking about billions of calculations happening every single second. And Microsoft built a single cluster doing 92 of those a second just to power advanced OpenAI models.
And the hardware evolution is absolutely relentless. NVIDIA has already slated their next-generation Vera Rubin architecture for late 2026. The pace is outstripping Moore's Law.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. You have tech giants looking at the price tags on these NVIDIA chips, looking at the insane wait times, and they are starting to rebel.
Oh yeah, they are pushing back.
They are looking at their own engineering departments and saying, what if we just build our own silicon? Enter the heavyweight challenger, Amazon Web Services.
AWS has been aggressively developing their own custom AI chips, known as Trainium, and they've backed this up with a massive strategic partnership with Anthropic, the AI research company behind the Claude models.
The intro blog source details a deployment called Project Rainier out in Indiana, and the sheer physical footprint of this is wild.
It's massive.
Imagine 1,200 acres of flat Indiana farmland. On that land, Amazon is sinking $11 billion to deploy 500,000 of their custom Trainium 2 chips.
500,000 chips.
500,000 chips dedicated exclusively to training Anthropic's Claude models. This is the world's largest non-NVIDIA AI cluster.
It is a massive declaration of independence from NVIDIA's ecosystem. And if you look at the economics, the strategy becomes incredibly clear. Intro blog highlights the upcoming release of Trainium 3, which utilizes a 3-nanometer manufacturing process.
Okay, 3 nanometers.
Now, in a pure benchmark test, a single Trainium 3 chip might not outperform NVIDIA's absolute top-tier Blackwell Ultra chip one-on-one.
Right.
But AWS isn't trying to win a one-on-one cage match. They're fighting a war of macro system economics.
Break that down for me. How does Amazon win this war if their custom chip is technically a little bit slower?
Because AWS controls the entire hardware stack. They can pack 144 Trainium chips into a single Ultra server configuration. Because they own the design, the manufacturing relationships, and the server architecture, that total system costs an estimated 40 to 60% less to build and operate than the equivalent NVIDIA system.
40 to 60% less.
Exactly. If you are Anthropic and you need to train a massive frontier model that requires months of continuous uninterrupted computing, a 50% cost reduction is the difference between leading the market and going bankrupt.
That makes total sense.
Amazon is demonstrating that you don't necessarily need the undisputed heavyweight champion chip if you can build a highly efficient, deeply cost-effective, massively scaled infrastructure.
It's a full-on insurgency. But whether you are packing a data center with Blackwells or Trainiums, you run into the exact same physical wall. You have hundreds of thousands of chips sitting in a warehouse. But they can't just sit there thinking all by themselves.
No, they can't.
To act as a single unified supercomputer, they have to talk to each other.
Having the fastest computational brain in human history is entirely useless if the nervous system connecting the lobes can't carry the signals fast enough. And inside an AI factory, that nervous system is forged from glass, fiber optics.
This is where we get into a total sci-fi geek-out session. The sheer volume of data moving between these chips is shattering the physical limits of traditional networking. According to the IE 802 white paper, the fiber bottleneck is one of the most critical engineering crises in the industry right now.
It is a massive choke point.
A modern 72 GPU node requires 16 times more fiber optic cabling than a standard cloud computing node did before the generative AI boom. 16 times.
Try to mentally visualize what that looks like inside a building. AI data centers are becoming incredibly dense, heavy, physical tangles of glass. And there is a severe architectural toll to this.
It's not just wires.
Exactly. More cables mean you physically run out of space in the ceiling and under the floors. You need heavier cable trays. You need more structural steel to support the weight of those trays. You need more reinforced concrete. And the installation times skyrocket because routing millions of delicate glass threads by hand is painstaking work.
But the tech industry refuses to accept a physical limit. If the glass is too thick, they just engineer new glass. The solutions to this cabling crisis are absolutely mind-blowing. Let's look at multi-core fiber, or MCF.
Yes, MCF.
Instead of shooting a single laser beam down a single path of light, they are engineering microscopic glass strands that contain multiple distinct light paths, reducing the total number of physical connections needed by up to 75%.
Multi-core fiber is brilliant. But hollow core fiber is where the physics truly bend the mind. Traditionally, fiber optics work by shooting a laser through a solid core of ultra-pure extruded glass. The light bounces along the interior of the glass walls.
Right, that's how it's always been done.
But with hollow core fiber, engineers are shooting the laser through the ambient air inside a microscopic hollow glass tube.
I have to pause you there because that sounds insane. Why go through the monumental manufacturing nightmare of creating a hollow microscopic glass tube just to shoot light through the air?
Because light travels roughly 50% faster through the air than it does through solid glass.
Wait, really?
Yes, the physical density of the glass actually slows the photon down. By hollowing out the core, you dramatically lower the latency, the delay of the signal.
That is incredible.
When you are conducting geo-distributed AI training, where a cluster of chips in Indiana needs to synchronize perfectly with a cluster in Virginia to act as one single brain, shaving off a few microseconds of latency is the literal difference between the model successfully training or mathematically collapsing.
The glass is too slow, so we literally hollow out the glass. Just incredible. And speaking of moving roadblocks, let's bring in the Microsoft Sustainability Report, which details something called Project Sirius. Their ultimate goal is an all-optical data center network.
This addresses the other massive bottleneck in the nervous system, the electrical switches.
Right.
In a standard network, light travels down the fiber optic cable, hits a network switch, gets converted into an electrical signal, gets processed and routed, and then gets converted back into a laser beam to continue its journey.
Which takes time.
That physical conversion from light to electricity and back takes time, and it generates a massive amount of heat. Project Sirius is actively investigating ultra-fast optical switching. The goal is to keep the signal as a beam of light the entire time. It skips the electrical conversion entirely, aiming for sub-microsecond latency across the entire facility.
So it's just uninterrupted beams of light bouncing through a completely flat network. It's like something out of Tron.
It really is.
But the cables aren't just choking inside the buildings. The RCR wireless analysis highlights a phenomenon they are calling the Atlantic crunch.
The subsea cables, the massive armored fiber lines running along the bottom of the ocean connecting North America to Europe, are facing a wholesale supply crunch.
They're running out of room.
The hyperscalers are driving so much continuous AI synchronization traffic across the Atlantic that the current transoceanic infrastructure is spiraling toward maximum physical capacity. These tech giants are essentially monopolizing all new subsea cable construction just to keep their global models talking to each other.
If we are literally running out of space for cables under the ocean, and we are running out of space for servers inside the buildings, where does the data ultimately go? This is where the Microsoft report drops the ultimate sci-fi nugget: DNA storage.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the sheer sustainability of archiving this much digital data is a crisis. Storing massive data sets on magnetic tape or spinning silicon hard drives requires constant power, constant air conditioning, and massive physical warehouses.
It's just too much.
So Microsoft is aggressively researching how to store digital data within synthetic DNA molecules.
I want to be absolutely clear for everyone listening. We aren't using DNA as a cute tech acronym. We are talking about biological DNA.
Synthetic laboratory-created biological DNA. Because when you look at it objectively, DNA is the most efficient data storage mechanism in the known universe.
Right.
It has been storing the complex blueprints of biological life for billions of years, and it does it without needing to be plugged into a wall. Instead of binary ones and zeros, the data is encoded into the 4 chemical building blocks of DNA: adenine, cytosine, guanine, and thymine, A, C, T, and G.
And the physical footprint of this is what truly breaks my brain.
It's unbelievably dense.
Yeah.
Theoretically, you could fit the entirety of the data currently on the global internet into a volume of synthetic DNA roughly the size of a shoebox.
Their shoebox.
Yes. And according to Microsoft's projections, successfully implementing DNA-based data storage could reduce greenhouse gas emissions, energy consumption, and water consumption associated with data archiving by over 60%. It is the ultimate zero-power hard drive.
Okay, my brain is officially melting a little bit. We've got 4-bit custom silicon chips doing quintillions of guesses a second, talking to each other through hollow glass tubes, and backing up their memories into synthetic biological DNA.
It's a lot to take in.
It's amazing. But all of this miraculous hardware has to physically live somewhere. It needs a roof, it needs walls, and it needs a foundation.
Which brings us to the rules of real estate. And when it comes to AI, the traditional rules of commercial real estate have completely fractured.
According to a deep dive real estate report from McKinsey, AI infrastructure is physically splitting the map into 2 totally distinct types of developments. This split is driven by the 2 distinct phases of artificial intelligence: training and inference.
Let's unpack those phases. The first phase is training. Think of this as the brain builder. You take a completely blank neural network and you feed it the sum total of human knowledge. You have it read every Wikipedia article, analyze every piece of open source code, and look at billions of images.
Sounds exhausting.
It's a grueling, continuous computational effort that takes weeks or even months of uninterrupted processing.
Because it's so incredibly intense, training centers require staggering amounts of power. To give you a baseline, A standard cloud computing rack might use 5 to 10 kilowatts of power. McKinsey notes that these new AI training workloads demand 100 to 200 plus kilowatts per rack.
A 20-fold increase.
That is a massive increase in power density. But here is the fascinating real estate trick. Training a model doesn't require a human being waiting on the other end of a smartphone screen. Therefore, training centers are what the industry calls latency insensitive.
The computer doesn't care if it takes an extra 50 or 100 milliseconds for a packet of data to arrive, because it's just chewing through a massive backlog of data over a period of months.
Right.
Because they are latency insensitive, you don't need to build these monstrous training centers anywhere near major population hubs. In fact, you don't want to.
You want to hide them.
You go to the middle of nowhere. You go to deserts, remote farmlands, or abandoned industrial parks. You go strictly where land is dirt cheap and, more importantly, where raw megawatt power is abundant.
But then you have the second phase, inference. This is the daily driver. This is the moment when you, the listener, pull out your laptop, open a prompt, and ask the AI to draft an email or generate an image.
Inference workloads use significantly less power per rack than training, usually hovering around 30 to 150 kilowatts. It's still incredibly high, but manageable. However, inference is absolutely latency critical.
People hate waiting.
Exactly. When you ask a chatbot a question, you expect that little cursor to start blinking and generating text immediately. If the server processing your request is physically located 3,000 miles away, the physical speed of light traveling through the fiber optic cables creates a noticeable delay. That lag ruins the illusion of real-time intelligence.
So inference centers have to be built right next to the users. They need to hug the major population centers, the big cities, and the edge markets. You end up with this massive geographic divergence. You have these giant, power-hungry training brains exiled to the remote wilderness. And you have these agile, hyper-fast inference nodes fighting for premium real estate in the suburbs of major cities.
And McKinsey points out a massive shift coming down the pipeline. By 2030, inference workloads are projected to make up over half of all AI compute. The sheer volume of daily AI queries is going to skyrocket.
Everyone is using it.
This is creating a fierce, cutthroat rush among developers to secure any available land near major metropolitan areas that still has access to a robust power grid.
But how are they actually building these facilities fast enough? You can't just pour standard concrete, frame up a steel building, and wait 3 years for construction to finish. The tech moves way too fast.
They are completely abandoning traditional construction. They're turning to modular and prefabricated building techniques. Instead of building a data center on-site, piece by painstaking piece, they're assembling massive pre-configured modules in off-site factories.
Like Legos.
Exactly like industrial Legos. These modules are shipped complete with cooling systems, power routing, and sometimes even the server racks already installed. They truck them to the site and literally snap them together. McKinsey reports this strategy can cut physical build times by up to 50%.
But even snapping together modular buildings isn't fast enough for companies like Microsoft and Meta. So they are retrofitting. The hyperscalers are taking their older traditional cloud data centers, ripping the old servers out and gutting the buildings. But it's not a simple swap. They literally have to rip up the floors and pour new, reinforced concrete.
The sheer physical weight of this new technology is a major constraint. AI server racks are incredibly dense. You are packing dozens of heavy GPUs, miles of thick copper cabling, and massive internal cooling reservoirs into a single standard-sized rack.
So heavy.
Standard raised data center floors, which were built to hold lightweight cloud servers, will simply buckle and collapse under the physical tonnage of an AI rack.
And you mentioned the cooling reservoirs. That is the biggest physical challenge inside the building. As Wikipedia's updated AI data center entry details, the heat generated by these chips is profound. You absolutely cannot use standard computer room air conditioning to cool a 100 kilowatt rack. It would be like trying to cool down an active volcano by pointing a desk fan at it.
The physics of air cooling simply break down at that density. Air cannot absorb and carry heat away fast enough to keep the silicon from melting. So the entire industry has been forced to pivot to liquid cooling.
Liquid cooling.
Water is vastly more thermodynamically efficient at absorbing and transferring heat than air. Take Google, for instance. They are pumping literal rivers of water through their data centers, running intricate plumbing systems that pipe chilled liquid directly into cold plates that sit flush against the computer chips, drawing the heat away instantly.
Other infrastructure companies like Serascale are deploying massive industrial chillers to cool the water in closed loops. The plumbing schematics required inside a modern AI factory are just as complex as the electrical wiring. It is an incredibly intricate, dangerous dance of high-voltage electricity, delicate glass fibers, glowing hot silicon, and pressurized water.
Which brings us to the ultimate constraint, the final boss. The one physical reality that could stop this entire technological revolution dead in its tracks.
This is where the story gets incredibly serious. This is where the infinite promise of the digital world crashes violently into the finite limits of planet Earth. The sheer scale of energy required to run these factories is staggering.
Let's look at the financial and utility data from Morgan Stanley. They are projecting that the global build-out of AI data centers will add 126 gigawatts of new power demand annually through the year 2028.
I need to stop right there and put that number in perspective for you. 126 gigawatts, that is the equivalent of taking the entire energy consumption of the country of Canada and adding it to the global power grid every single year.
It is an utterly insatiable demand for electricity. And the reality is the global electrical grid is not prepared for it. Because of decades of deferred maintenance and underinvestment in traditional electrical transmission lines and substations, severe power constraints and wholesale shortages are actively being predicted by developers for 2027 and 2028.
It's around our corner.
The utility grid simply cannot expand fast enough to handle the equivalent of a new Canada plugging in tomorrow.
So what happens when a trillion-dollar tech giant goes to the local utility company and says, "We need 500 megawatts for our new AI factory," and the utility company says, "Sorry, we literally don't have the power to give you." The tech giant says, "Fine, we'll bring our own." The hottest trend in tech right now is called bring your own power.
The hyperscalers are completely bypassing the traditional public utility grid. They are buying up and reviving obsolete natural gas peaker plants.
Peaker plants.
These are heavily polluting plants that utilities build to only run a few days a year during extreme grid emergencies like a massive heat wave to prevent blackouts. Tech companies are buying them and running them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Companies like xAI, Meta, and OpenAI are actively constructing their own off-grid natural gas plants right next door to their data centers.
It's unbelievable. These software companies are essentially transforming into private utility and energy companies overnight. The sources also highlight that they are deploying massive fields of electric vehicle lithium-ion batteries. They use these mega batteries to balance the grid, absorbing power during low-use hours and discharging it during massive computational surges.
Right.
But building a private power plant costs billions of dollars, on top of the billions they are already spending on ships and real estate. How on earth is this being financed?
Morgan Stanley's analysis points directly to the debt markets. The hyperscalers, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, have massive, pristine credit ratings. They are flush with cash and highly trusted by massive financial institutions. They are tapping into global credit markets, essentially leveraging debt to finance half of their trillion-dollar-plus spending spree.
So the whole system is realigning.
The entire global financial system is bending and restructuring itself to fund the energy systems required to power these AI factories.
So what does this all mean? When an unstoppable trillion-dollar technological force meets a very physical, very limited world, you get friction. Real, intense socioeconomic friction.
This raises an important question about the political, environmental, and community reality of this infrastructure boom.
Yeah.
Because when you build at this scale, it doesn't happen in a vacuum.
Absolutely. Let's look at that Project Rainier facility in Indiana, the massive Amazon site we talked about earlier. According to the reports, state officials in Indiana have had to launch official investigations into Amazon's operations. The concern is that Amazon's massive water pumping, drawing millions of gallons from local aquifers to feed their data center cooling systems, has actively dried up local residential wells.
The water is just gone.
When a factory requires that much water, it directly impacts the daily lives of the community surrounding it.
And this localized friction has exploded into a major national political flashpoint. The sheer energy demand of AI has become highly polarized. And we are strictly looking at the reports here, not taking sides.
Strictly the facts.
On one side of the political spectrum, you have figures like Senator Bernie Sanders actively pushing for a nationwide moratorium, a complete mandated halt on any new AI data center construction, citing the immediate and severe environmental impact and carbon emissions.
And then on the other side, you look at the incoming Trump administration's energy platform, which explicitly calls for a massive, aggressive expansion of data centers. Their stated goal is to secure absolute American dominance in global AI development, and they are pairing that with calls for widespread, deregulated energy development, specifically fossil fuels, to ensure those data centers never run out of juice.
Simultaneously, you have Democratic lawmakers launching formal probes into utility companies investigating potential conflicts of interest regarding energy costs. And caught in the middle of all these high-level political probes is the everyday consumer.
The people paying the bills.
People are opening their monthly home electricity bills, seeing massive price spikes, and directly blaming the AI data centers in their state for straining the grid and driving up the cost of basic power.
The utility companies are sweating. They are caught between a rock and a hard place, trying to introduce complex tiered pricing models to protect residential neighborhoods from rate hikes, while still desperately trying to service the tech giants who are demanding hundreds of megawatts. The hyperscalers publicly state they want clean, 100% renewable energy. They want solar, they want wind, they want nuclear.
Yes, eventually.
But the deployment demand is so incredibly urgent, the race to build the smartest AI is so fast that they are resorting to burning natural gas and fossil fuels just to get the chips turned on today.
It is the ultimate infrastructural clash. We are watching the digital future aggressively fight for space, water, and power in the physical present. And the reports offer no easy answers, just a massive, ongoing, and highly disruptive reallocation of global resources.
Which forces us to look beyond the immediate horizon. If the real estate on Earth is constrained, if the local aquifers are drying up, and if the global power grid is matched out, where do these companies go next?
It's the only logical conclusion when you exhaust a closed system. They look up.
Space. The sources we have today reveal that tech billionaires, people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Sam Altman, are already actively exploring the viability of space-based data centers. This isn't science fiction anymore.
It's happening.
There is an NVIDIA-backed startup called StarCloud that literally just successfully trained the first AI model on a satellite in low Earth orbit.
If you strip away the sci-fi element and just look at the physics, the logic is incredibly sound. What are the two biggest constraints on Earth? Cooling and power.
Right.
In the vacuum of space, ambient cooling is essentially free if you engineer the radiation panels correctly, because the ambient temperature is near absolute zero.
And power.
You have unfiltered, unlimited 247 solar energy available without any atmospheric interference, clouds, or nighttime interruptions.
It is the ultimate mind-bending thought experiment to leave you with today. If the physical infrastructure required to build artificial superintelligence literally outgrows the resources of planet Earth, does the cloud literally have to move to the stars? Could the future of AI infrastructure bypass the Earth's fragile power grid and our limited water supply entirely? Let that marinate.
It's a profound possibility, and it is a testament to how aggressively and rapidly this infrastructure is evolving. We are completely rewriting the limits of human engineering.
Next time you pull out your phone to generate an image or ask a chatbot a question, remember the roaring factories, the hollow glass fibers, the rushing rivers of liquid cooling, and the spinning gas turbines working furiously behind your screen. And that is all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thank you so much for joining us as we rip the roof off the cloud. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep digging deep. We'll catch you on the next one.